since the October 10th candle, there hasn't been much that has changed when it comes to the HBAR price chart. We have just been ranging, and even with the Canary Funds Hedera ETF getting approved, we did have a slight wick to the upside. However, we failed to close over the support range, and even if we're looking at the 1 week, that move really isn't that bullish on this chart. It's very good that we do have the ETF, which we'll talk about for sure in this video. But one of the biggest things that I'm looking at here, and one thing to really keep a close eye on, is strong weekly candle closes. We want to make sure that we are closing above some of the previous demand ranges and also some of the previous support levels, because we do not want to create a macro lower low on this price chart, and we want to maintain bullish structure. However, we have failed to create bullish structure on this price chart since going all the way back to July. And since then, all we have been doing on the higher time frame is creating lower highs and also lower lows. We want to break that trend and create a higher high, and that won't happen until we get a weekly candle close over this October 27th weekly candle close, which was right around roughly 19.5 cents. And we could just round that up right to 20 cents. We basically want to get a close over the May highs. So again, when it comes back to HBAR, this price chart, it's not bearish, it's not bullish. We're kind of in neutral territory at this moment, but we need to keep a close eye on this at this moment. The good thing is, if we're looking at this on the 3-day structure, we are still in this price wedge where we are just trading sideways, waiting for something to happen on this chart. So although, yeah, we are still creating, pretty neutral and almost bearish, structure on the higher time frame, on the mid time frame structure, aka just like the 3-day structure, we're still maintaining that lower trend line, and we want to see something happen here. Yes, with the ETF approval, we did get back into that blue zone, which is the demand zone. We did wick to the upper trend line, but we failed to push over it. So until anything really happens where we break over that blue zone, we clear the upper trend line, I'm not going to get too bullish on this price chart right now. However, Hedera still remains one of my most bullish picks for this season because, again, if we're looking at everything happening around Hedera and also the HBAR ecosystem, there's a lot of great things to really be excited about, and we'll definitely talk about that here in this video. So, over the last couple of days, it has come to my attention that we are now witnessing more and more users having money frozen on exchanges like MEXC. This is a big issue, and it's an issue that plagues the crypto space. It's at a time where these exchanges are not fully regulated. It's a big issue. This is why when I've always mentioned, if you wanted to hold your crypto in custody, it could be cold storage. It doesn't matter where you are holding it. Never hold it on these exchanges. Now, I will say iTrust Capital does offer a premium custody account, which provides you institutional grade custody. This is a US-based company with live client service and support, and you can buy and sell crypto 24/7 on this platform, which is a closed loop system that is extremely secure with low fees. We can also see here that iTrust Capital does provide you with every single thing that you possibly need when you are buying, selling, or holding crypto on their platform. If you guys do want to sign up with a premium custody account today, you guys are more so welcome to do so through my link that is down in the description below. If you deposit $1,000, you get a $100 funding bonus on top of it. And with that being said, let's jump back on into the video. Let's actually talk about the ETF a bit, because I do want to go back to the ETF approval because, again, everyone had this idea that, all right, well, altcoin ETFs aren't going to really matter all that much. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Canary Funds is not a massive institutional name. Yes, they are, a pretty significant name around ETFs. They're still a very small name. They only have 8,400 followers on X. They're not like a huge name that everyone knows. Like, for an example, if BlackRock had an HBAR ETF, that would be huge. Everyone would know about it. Everyone would be looking at it. But I'm bringing this up because I want to make sure that you guys understand that Canary Capital is not a huge name. They're not a massive, well-known name. So you would think that the demand for an HBAR ETF that gets approved through Canary Capital, you wouldn't expect much out of it, right? But if we go back to October 28th, all right, it is now the 9th of November. which means we have been trading for almost 2 weeks when it comes back to this ETF. You might be wondering, how successful has this been? Well, looking at a few updates, right, we could see that there currently is over 387 million HBAR in this fund. That is equivalent to almost $70 million. This is a very significant performance when it comes back to a name like Canary Capital and when it comes back to an altcoin that a lot of people just don't know about. So the fact that HBAR is performing the way that it is in terms of the first ETF approval, I'm very excited about a well-known name applying for an HBAR ETF and getting it approved. Because again, this is showing us that there is real demand here for HBAR. There is, a huge opportunity for major hedge funds and major ETF issuers to go out, apply, and get an HBAR ETF approved. So this is very, very bullish. And also, by the way, when it comes back to ETFs, these are all spot-based ETFs, which means these are going to impact HBAR itself. So if we're looking at HBAR, its value, its demand, its volume, yes, these ETFs do affect all of those things in a positive way. So I'm very excited about this. And also, by the way, we're already starting to see more ETF applications coming in. Like, for an example, this got posted from Gilmore Estates. We have here Wisdom Tree Funds has officially filed an S1 for the CoinDesk 20 Fund ETF, set to list on the NYSE. With HBAR already represented in the CoinDesk 20 Index, this positions Hedera to be included in yet another institutional-grade basket ETF. More indices, more ETF exposure, more on-chain liquidity. The institutional funnel is only just beginning. And yeah, listen, we've been starting to see a lot of these, ETF. It's more so like these major funds that include top tier projects in the space. A lot of these baskets are very, very bullish because, again, it's showing us clear institutional demand, but also we're starting to see a adoption around some of these well-known. I don't want to say HBAR is well-known because, again, I've been talking about it for quite some time that, again, HBAR is still extremely overlooked. But the main thing that I'm looking at here is that it seems as though there's clear demand from the institutional side around a lot of these altcoins that retail has been kind of ignoring for quite some time, even though we've been talking about why these altcoins should be focused on. And I think that the institutional players are also realizing the value behind some of these ecosystems. Because again, with Hedera, the technology stack, everything happening around Hedera, I just feel as if every single, I would say, I don't want to say every single institutional player is going to be lined up, but I will say a large portion of institutional players are going to be looking at this and saying it's a no-brainer move to have an HBAR ETF or even include it in an ETF basket. But also, I really do think that retail should be doing a lot more research here and looking into some of these ecosystems and also seeing that value, which is exactly why I talk about Hedera quite a bit on this channel. But beyond that, we also did see Canary Capital starting to promote the HBAR ETF a little bit more. We have here from Canary Capital introducing HBAR, the Canary HBAR ETF. Again, this is just a little bit more of, some marketing around the HBAR ETF. They posted this on the 6th. So again, they are also realizing that this thing has been performing very, very well. There is almost $70 million tied to it. It's a very, very bullish launch. And I'm very excited about it because, again, I do think that almost every single institutional player out there, any ETF issuer, they're going to be looking at the demand here and they're going to say, well, something's up with this. We got to look into this. We got to possibly have an ETF around HBAR as well. So let's get the ball rolling here. But beyond that, we also did get a big update from DAP Radar recently. I know this goes back to October 30th, but I did want to really kind of look into this because this is the Q3 2025 report on Hedera. This is what I mean by, the ETF demand. This is what I mean by institutional players recognizing the value behind Hedera. And this is also what I mean by, retail should be looking into some of these reports and realizing what's happening. So we have here with fresh AI integrations, RWA tokenization, and record activity, Hedera just closed one of its strongest quarters yet. Now, within this, right off the bat, we have Hedera DApp activity surged 190% year over year, averaging over 2,000 daily unique active wallets. This is a very good sign that the ecosystem, even though, we constantly say like, all right, well, yeah, the market's down. Nobody wants to, touch crypto. We still have a ton of active wallets utilizing dApps on Hedera, and the ecosystem is still having a lot of activity, even during the downtime in this market. So I'm very excited about this. This is a very good insight. And then also on top of that, we have top dApps this quarter. So these were the ones that experienced a lot of the activity. So most of this is DeFi related, like for example, SushiSwap, Bonzo Finance, even CentX is more so, NFTs, but the rest of these are also, sort of DeFi. I'm not too sure about Coin Fantasy. I never really looked into that. But HeliSwap, that is a DeFi related project. So we love to see this. This is very good to see. Very happy about the DeFi side of Hedera really starting to pick up more activity, which makes a lot of sense because DeFi on Hedera is next level compared to, other networks in this space. And then beyond that, NFT, the ecosystem, again, this was one of the strongest quarters for the NFT ecosystem on Hedera. We have here with 4.9 million in trading volume, up 16x quarter over quarter. This is, again, very bullish, which is why we have CentX being one of the top dApps for activity. We saw Dead Pixels Ghost Club making a ton of noise back in quarter 2 into quarter 3, and quarter 3, it just completely lit up. So we love to see that. And then also, on top of that, in the full breakdown, which I do have open over here, I want to go over a few other things. So on-chain transactions surged 386% year over year to 2.7 million, while smart contract volumes climbed to 3.7 billion, up 88% quarter over quarter, and that's $3.7 billion. DeFi TVL doubled year over year, reaching over 200 million, showing consistent growth despite market volatility. SushiSwap remains the most used app on the network, though DeFi dominance fell from 83% to 67% year over year. That is because, of course, we're starting to see NFTs and gaming really gaining traction. Also, some of the other dApps on Hedera also started to see a lot more volume in as well. And then we have, with $4.9 million in NFT trading volume, quarter 3 2025 marked the strongest quarter ever for Hedera's NFT ecosystem, led by CentX and Dead Pixels Ghost Club's Forever Mint innovation. So again, it was just an incredible overall quarter for Hedera. And yes, we did see AI integrations. We saw RWA tokenization moves. We saw record-breaking on-chain activity. I mean, this is what we want to see, even though the market is down. I bring this up because, again, I talked about it in 2024. I talked about it in previous years as well. When we start to see the market go into a downtrend, when we start to see the market falling and everyone's panicking, everyone's concerned, that's typically the best time to focus on fundamentals around these projects, because at some point in time, we know the market's going to rebound. We know the market is going to, start to flip yet again. And when these types of projects like Hedera, for an example, start to pump to the upside, everyone's going to be questioning, why is HBAR pumping? Why are these altcoins moving? And there is definitely some altcoins out there that just move off of hype and, just demand. But I do think that when it comes back to Hedera, when we start to see that uptrend form yet again, which I do suspect that we will, we just have to get through this downtrend. When this thing starts to break out, a lot of people will be questioning why HBAR is pumping, but they will completely ignore the facts, right? Which is the fact that, number one, Hedera recently just made history with one of the first crypto ETFs to get approved around an altcoin. And ever since this got approved, it's been making history with the amount of HBAR holdings in question. I mean, over 387 million. That is a very significant amount for, a small name like Canary Capital. Then also on top of that, we just went over the ecosystem report. I mean, guys, every single quarter, Hedera is making massive moves. So it makes sense for HBAR to have a strong uptrend move in the market. So when this thing starts to pump, I don't want to see anyone asking, why is HBAR pumping? It's very simple, right? We are constantly seeing strong performances out of the Hedera ecosystem quarter over quarter, and almost every single year, it's another huge year for Hedera. It's another big moment for the Hedera ecosystem to expand, add more names to the ecosystem, and just make a much larger name for itself. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video.